I mean, I don't think there's a real routine, mostly because, like I said, we get stuff from overseas a lot of the time. So I wake up and I'm like, oh, India just emailed or whatever, and they want to do an interview about sustainability or the environment, because I don't know if you heard, but India had at least a week, I want to say maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks of temperatures that were over 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was huge, right? And that was that's barely livable conditions. And then if you might not be in a place with air conditioning or whatever, and even then, if you have air conditioning, eventually it's going to burn out, because, or there's going to be blackouts or whatever, because it's just everybody's putting that same demand on the system. So anyway, yeah, so it's never a dull moment, and I like that. Sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed with it, but I like interacting with a lot of different people and hearing different ideas, because that only builds my knowledge base of like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And again, that's one of the reasons why I picked Long Beach to live in, to settle in and raise my kids, because I really appreciate hearing other perspectives and seeing things from different points of view. And I feel like I try to make that broaden my way of thinking and interacting in the world, so that we all have a voice, and we all can be appreciative of each other. And that's one of the very, very, very best things about Long Beach, in my opinion. Very total opposite of where I grew up, where everybody looked like me, was tall, blonde, big feet, and everybody thought exactly the same. Then I went to school in Spain, came back, and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to go someplace where it's interesting, and there's diversity and just in opinions and perspectives and creeds and you name it. So Long Beach is one of the most diverse places in the country, in my opinion. So love it here.
I love it here too.
It's good, isn't it? It's just
it's
the
great.
best. My kids literally thank me. Okay, we go to Michigan. It's beautiful. It's green. There's lots of water all over the place, lakes, and the pace is nice and slow. So that's kind of a change for a vacation. But when we come back, they're always like, thank you for raising us here, Mom, because it's just so much more open-minded, and that is everything to me. Like that, just I feel trapped when you are only allowed to think a certain way,
So talking about Long Beach and being in this diverse community, I read through your website, and you said you had a focus on delivering and educating minority groups such as Latinx, African American. And as a member of Long Beach, I've noticed that in these Latinx community, I live in a Latinx and Black community. I live in Northside Long Beach.
Oh yeah.
There's ice cream man trucks. There's eloteros. There are, it's just reeking of I know it's my I love my culture. I love my food, but it tends to be food that's very high in sugar, that's very high in fat, and
cholesterol.
I love that you are making a focus on these communities, and I was wondering what was the thought process behind Long Beach, and what about these communities in Long Beach that made you want to help them?
Well, like I said,
Politically,
I don't know if you heard this part, but I came from a place where everybody looked exactly like me, and then I moved to Long Beach, and I was like, yes, it's so much more interesting, and so many different ways to look at things. And I liked just the openness of thinking, and the respect that people would give to each other for whatever way they looked at things. So then move on to the political activism. I just got far more connected to people of a wide variety of perspectives and opinions and backgrounds and whatever. And I knew I became especially aware after like Standing Rock and the water issues, and finding out that the people on the west side are much more likely to die younger than people on the east side. I just felt like we got to be focusing our energy where the people need it the most. And like you're identifying the food that is typical for certain cultures is partly because it's what is affordable and available. Although I have to say that like the Native Americans that I know and lots of Latinx, if you prefer, are good with like knowing how to get healthy food out of the ground. It may not be passed on to your generation as much. I'm not sure if that's a generational thing or not, but when I really want to know something, I go back to the Native American or the Latinx communities and say like, well, how did this transpire? How did you guys, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I think they have the knowledge base, or maybe their grandmas do, the abuelas have the knowledge base about how to grow the Three Sisters, for example. Have you ever heard of that before, the Three Sisters? It's
No.
corn, squash, and beans. The nutrients from each of those actually complement each other, so they grow together really well.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's something that Native Americans figured out many, many years ago. I mean, hundreds of years ago. But so they know things way beyond my knowledge base about how to do this better and, take up less space actually. Right, we live in a monoculture farming community, or basically that's the mindset now. Well, what that does is it leaches all the nutrients out of the ground, and then the next time around, there's nothing for that particular crop, if you get what I'm saying. But so the older cultures knew how to balance things out, and I don't know how they knew it, but they did, and it worked for centuries, and then we came in and messed it all up. And through toxins and so I'm always looking for, give me more of that information so that I can pass that on so that people can be more successful in their own ways of supplementing their diet and